Kip, are you there?
I'm here. I'm ready for love.
Oh, he's ready for love. Well, I'm ready for some love too. Hey everybody, it's me, Brandon Labonte, host of Two Dads Having a Beer. This is a podcast where I am super pumped to bring on new guest dads every single week, where we share some laughs, we share some wisdom, we share some stories, but of course, we always share a nice cold beer. So imagine this, a couple of cool guys hanging out with some frosty brews, talking about dad jokes and not just talking about beer, but beer is definitely a plus. So we're gonna dive right into the world of being a father, one conversation at a time, work-life balance, entrepreneurship, careers. You name it, we try to tackle it right here on this show. And who better to explore these topics each week than an amazing guest dad? So every episode, we're joined by a new dad from a different walk of life, bringing on new perspectives with unique experiences so we can bring those to the table and talk about it. So whether you're a work from home dad, or you're a 9 to 5er, or you're a side hustling warrior, right? This podcast is a safe place for you. Just kind of kick off your shoes, relax, and pop open a cold one and enjoy this crazy journey that we called fatherhood. So with that being said, I would like to kind of crack open a cold one with you, my friend Kip, and we're going to go ahead and make some new memories and have a damn good time on Two Dads Having a Beer. Well, let's open it up, buddy.
Let's do it. That's
Oh,
the great sound.
that is
Oh,
a great sound. And so I'm super glad that you're here, Kip. It's really kind of my privilege to have you on the show. So let me tell everybody who's listening, all 5 viewers and my mom that are watching the show.
I thought you were up to 4.
No, I'm up to 5. I add my mom into that number. And
I
so
gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, my math isn't as good as my smile, but I'm working on that. So Kip Egalite, he works as a salesperson for Empower Rental Group. He's a sales rep, and he's one of those guys that you just like to be around. He's been married to his beautiful wife Lisa for 25 years. That's a really long time nowadays, by the way, pal.
It is a long time.
He
It's
has
a quarter of a
three.
century.
Yeah, he has 3 wonderful kids. One's married, one's engaged, and one's dating the son of this fantastic podcast. And Savannah, who's 30, married Jacob. Tanner, who's 24. He's a big boy, and not from the standpoint of like he needs to lose some weight, but like he lifts a lot of weight, kind of big boy. And he just got engaged to Abby, who's a fantastic hairdresser. And of course, the 19-year-old Tess, who's dating my son Camden, and he loves to talk about Jesus. He loves to play some cornhole. He loves to hang out with his family, and of course, he likes to root on those Buccaneers of Tampa Bay. Kip, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Just trying to unwind from the battle of the workforce.
It is a battle every single day. We are
That's
putting
right.
in putting in the punches and taking them as
That's
well.
right.
Yeah. So I'm drinking a sensory overload hazy Sintra India Pale Ale, or an IPA. I mean, I don't know why they spell that stinking crap out. I know it's an IPA, but they spell it out from Ology Brewing Company right out of Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm really excited to try this one again. I've had it before, and I really, really like the citrus IPA. What are you drinking, my man?
I'm drinking New Belgium Voodoo Ranger
A
Fruit
Voodoo
Force.
Ranger.
I usually get the Juice Force, and we call it at my house the Juice Box because it goes down really smooth by the time you drink one in about 5 minutes, but 2 will get you real quick.
Do you put the little bendy straw in there from time to
No,
time just to kind of like savor the
no,
moment?
the
No.
straws are for sweet tea.
Straws are for sweet tea.
Yep,
But this is what I got, folks. It's a delicious beer. You want to show your camera what you got
yeah,
there a little closer?
yep.
Everybody wants to buy
Uh,
that. Oh
Food.
yeah.
I got
How
to get
many have
the.
you how many have you had?
This is my first one. Like I said,
Okay.
unwinding from the day as we speak.
It is one of those days, man, where I felt like I just didn't have enough minutes in it to kind of get all the things I needed to get done. And every
Yep.
minute that I did have was being, challenged by somebody else's minutes that they were trying to sneak into mine.
Understood. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. The
So
day can get away
married,
quick.
yeah, they do. So married for 25 years, 3 kids. I can guarantee by how I know your family and how I know your daughter, and that it's just been a really fun household, man. So
Oh yeah.
tell me about, some of the biggest challenges that you have faced as a dad, knowing that your kids are amazing and they're fun and they were probably super involved as they grew up, right? That you had to kind of balance your career aspirations being a dad, but also being a professional, and how did you overcome those challenges
Well,
of that
that's
balance?
I'm going to tell you that's one of the places that I have failed as a father. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I had 3 kids. My oldest one's 30, and it wasn't real hard when you had one. There was no juggling because there was 2 of us, so it was easy to make life happen and go for it. But then when
Sure.
we had our second one, Tanner, we both started careers about a year after he was born. So that was a challenge, just both of us chasing, I'm going to say more of a corporate world, and she's a teacher. So you got to
Right.
imagine the hours that they put in. Whoever doesn't think that teachers, they have a easy job and only work, 8, 9 months out of the year. It's, trust me, they're working about 16 months out of the year in that time frame. I guarantee it, because a lot of weekends and a lot of nights and a lot of early mornings and things like that. So just trying to get through it all. And then, I moved up, I'm going to say the corporate ladder pretty quick. And over the years, I really started seeing where I could get into some upper management. So
Sure.
I really started going hard, but I was still trying to do all the dad things, which, coaching all 3 kids in different sports. And, one of them was doing travel ball and things like that. So I was trying to do that and didn't leave a whole lot of time for myself and the wife. And, like you're saying, filling the minutes up and somebody's trying to take something, it was always like that. And we tried to combat that with dinners at the table every night. I gotta say, that's the number one thing that we always had that was pretty consistent, that we all ate together at the table, and no cell phones, and which was good, because back then that wasn't as bad. But when all 3 of them had cell phones, this make it a little harder. But no, but I will tell you a funny story. When Tess was about probably 4 or 5, she was not doing well at the dinner table that night. She had a little bit of the anti pants, and Tess was. Uh, you don't maybe see all the funny side of her all the time, but she's got a funny side to her. But she could not sit still, so we ended up having to put a belt on her, not on her rear end. We belted her to the chair so she would eat, because she wouldn't eat with us and she was just bouncing off the wall. So we literally talk about that all the time, belting her down. And she's like,
That is
"Are you gonna tell that story?" And I said, "Of course I am."
that's a great story. And I think Harper has that antsy pants mode as well, where
Okay.
like a little dog just gets the zoomies, right?
Yep.
Harper gets those as well, and it's really it's interesting. Like as a girl, like at this age, like she doesn't really eat, but then she goes through these moments where she'll eat everything, and you're like, why weren't you eating last night? But today you're starving. So I love that story. I actually had, a similar situation with Camden. So his older brother, Dominic, and they was at the house, and they just, you know, 2 boys seemed to not get along at the most inappropriate times, right? So you're
Yeah.
like, it's like you get along when there's nobody around, but then you start fighting when we have guests over. So I don't understand the concept of your timing, because it's broken. So I created this shirt, right? I went to the store and I bought a double extra large shirt, because I don't actually wear that size. And I called it the I love you shirt. And whenever they started freaking out and fighting with each other, I made them wear it together. Like they had to sit like with both heads coming out of the hole on the top, and they got the share an arm, and they had to wear it for an hour. together
Yep.
and get along with each other. And so
And they're giving
from
each
that,
other the eyeball,
yeah,
looking
they
at each
did.
other
They just
sideways.
sat next to each other for the first 20 minutes, still mad as a hornet, right? Like,
Hmm.
now I have to sit in the same shirt with you. It was
That's right.
it was really funny. But so when you're a parent, right? One of the
Mhm.
things that we try and share on the show is just different perspectives on how, we deal with the same situation. So your situation with Tess not wanting to eat was, a physical trauma of strapping her to the chair with a belt, and I did a physical trauma of putting two kids in a shirt together so that they would learn to get along and love each other. So how do you find those like decisions? Is that like something that spur of the moment, like I'm just going to do this and hopefully it's a good memory down the line, or is it just like, did that happen to you when you were a kid?
No, the belt was used in a different way when I was a kid.
Okay.
uh,
Cracking, because I
yes,
still got
yes,
welts.
yeah. And the stories of this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. Yes. Um,
So, like, have you ever looked at your dad when he's saying that and be like, okay, well, then let me hit you next?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me
Because then
try.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, let me try. I've got
Yeah.
dad stories for you later. I can tell you those.
Well, it is two dads having a period. Listen, I mean, that's a whole different podcast.
That is a whole
That's
different
that's
podcast.
actually therapy, I think.
Yeah,
We,
I think yeah,
we should have
and you
like a
don't have to pay for it.
professional.
Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah.
pay for it. It's good. No, I think in some of that stuff, like we always, you know, how do I want to put it? You have those days where it's just a rough day, and every part of your patience is tested. But with your
Sure.
kids, they're your blood, and you try as hard as you can not to snap. You know, so I think with Lisa being a teacher and with that background, she's got a
Right.
way with kids and knows really how they kind of think. So a lot of that stuff would get diffused pretty quick, and then I would feed off of her because she's an awesome mom,
Yeah.
and just feed off of her what she was doing and saying when I was by myself with one or two or three or whatever it was. But I said, then, at the same point, we did not, we were strong personalities. Lisa and I both were strong personalities. Like
No.
we didn't play the game like, no, that's not, we're not going there, kids. Like, you don't understand. Like, we took our kids to the grocery store when they were little, but when they wanted to start crying out loud, we'd say no, and we would leave the groceries and leave, and then we wouldn't bring them back. And then they're like, I want to go to the grocery store. And you're like, no, you can't go because you don't know how to behave. I'll behave. I'll behave. Then they come back and they behave. I mean, some of it's tough love, and sometimes it's extra work and things like that. But sometimes it's time, and I think just showing them that you care and you're not screaming and yelling and flipping and throwing stuff and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I love that, Kip. I really do. I mean, I know that here in our household now, I mean, I'm starting kind of afresh with a 5-year-old, and and I have these older kids that I've made a lot of mistakes with, and I've learned that there's a different way of approaching a situation. But to your point, wives have such a different take and
Mm.
delivery on being a forceful hand, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so, just an example, you just like yesterday, I kind of got on to Harper because she keeps saying no for the most obscure reasons, and I was done with it, to be honest with you. And so I kind of just raised my voice a little bit more than I actually needed to, and not like in an angry way, but just like I'm fed up with that.
Yeah,
You're
we're
old enough
done.
to recognize that that is
Right.
not how we talk in this house, right? and
Right.
um and so she went off running and crying, and that just kind of like, I'm like, now I'm triggered even more as a dad. I'm like,
Yeah.
who does that? And
Yeah.
and so I'm thinking like she's an adult. And so my wife, Jennifer, is super kind and super sweet and super insightful, and she says to me, why did you do that? That didn't help anything. There was a better way to approach that. And she gave me some pointers right there and then. And I was like, I actually knew that in my head and in my heart, but it didn't work. Like, it didn't come out like that. So I
Right.
found myself going back to Harper moments later while she was in the toilet, right? Because that was like our quiet place. And
Yep.
I just kind of let her know how much I loved her and how sorry I was. But the reality is, I still don't like that comment. Like, no, and it doesn't work for me as a dad.
Right.
And so, when we talk about those things, Kip, I love being a dad, but do you ever experience like those feelings of guilt, and how do you stop spending that emotional time on that, um, due to your kids' commitments, or due to your commitments, or due to
Yeah.
you know emotional problems that had in the house?
Well, I would say when they were all younger, I was probably more high geared to do it, let's go. I'm dad mode, right?
Hmm.
And we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do that. And mom was like, let's go, we got this to do, this to do, this to do. So we were always hustling with three in a row because at one point we had a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary school. And they
Bam.
and they were all doing three different sports. So school got out at 3:45 and it was on. You know what I mean? So it was hustle and bustle everywhere. So, I mean, for us, I don't know. I think apologizing all the time, like when stuff goes on, like I think in those short terms, like back then, I would realize like what I said or did and say, hey, I wasn't trying to be short. That was from somewhere else. Like that was from my workplace, and I took that out on you, and I shouldn't have. And I
Hmm.
try to explain that to him in a calm voice and a good conversation. And most of the time that went well. But like now, I find myself looking back at some of the things, and I'm like, and I'm seeing my adult children now, all three are adults, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, that was me giving that to him, or that was Lisa and I giving that to him on this certain situation. And you can see where the pitfall might be. But what the cool part is you can tell sometimes they'll come back and talk to me about certain things and ask me my opinion. Like I don't give it to them. They ask me. If they ask me, I tell them. But you can see them working it out. But they're not always reacting like I did. But you can see glimpses of it. I'll
Hmm.
tell you a story about my son because I can do that. So one of the things that I was really bad at was when I was building something and something didn't go well and I would get a little frustrated, a tool or two might fly across the way, with some choice words. Cause my motto back then was I have to cuss at it in order to make it work. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Actually, that still happens from time to time with
it
me.
does happen from time to time, but I'm much better at it now. But my son has got a new house, and he was working on something, and he was switching out the electrical cord on the back of a new stove, and
Right.
he ended up cutting himself when he was back there. And his girlfriend, and at the time his girlfriend, his roommate were there, and he was doing something, and he just lost it. And he walks outside with the screwdriver and chucks across the whole street into the neighbor's yard. And I told Abby when I saw her the next time, I said, I'm sorry, that was me. And she said, it's okay. He scared me for a moment. And he goes, I told her I was sorry right away. I won't do it again. He realized it as soon as he did it, but he was mad. And I'm like, that was me. I taught him that. You know what I mean? Those
Yeah.
kind of failures now are on me, you know?
Unintentional education, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Not
clearly
ones I wanted to
something.
give.
Yeah, right, but the reality of the situation is, you know, that builds a different level of character. So, I've had some unintentional educations from my dad, right? My
Sure.
dad passed away in 2011, and I sit back and I think about all of the lessons that
Hmm.
I've learned from him, or different type of attributes that I have in my life that have been applied because of him. And I
Hmm.
think, yes, I've changed them. I've made them my own, but they're a derivative of a point in time that I saw my dad do that, and I approved of it enough to make it part of who I am,
Hmm.
right? And
You want to know what
then
that's
and
called?
please,
I'm going to tell you 100% what it's called. Generational curse.
a generational curse. What if it's a good thing?
Exactly. There probably are good things, but a lot of them, most of the time, they're bad things.
Right.
But you get some of those generational curses, and those are the ones you don't want to pass down because each parent wants to have their kids be better than them in
Yeah, of
everything.
course.
better car, better education, better house, better family life, better everything, right? That's what
Right.
you strive for. That's what you want for them. But that's the hard part, is getting rid of some of those things that I had either learned intentionally or unintentionally, and then trying to get rid of some things. So I think that's the stuff that I battle now, is some of those curses that I'm trying to make sure that I'm not passing on. How about that? I'm trying like
Yeah.
hell.
I mean, we all do, right?
Oh yeah.
There's certain things that, um, unresolved issues,
Oh yeah.
traumatic events, you know, that do transition down generations. But on the same side of that, right? Like, is curse is always like a negative thing.
Hmm.
But why can't you be cursed, positively? We call
How
that a
about
blessing. It's a
yeah,
generational
a blessing
blessing.
generate? I
Yeah.
got some
And
of those. I got plenty
so
of those.
I feel like that's kind of what we strive for as parents, but because
Oh
we're
yeah.
human and our nature is sinful, right? Right?
Right.
I feel like we have that impact that creates that generational curse, but we can turn that around. As parents, we have the desire to make sure that, like you were saying, our
Hmm.
kids are better than us in every way, shape, or form. Because at the end of the day, when I'm really, really old and in a wheelchair, I don't want somebody caring for me that's worthless,
There you
right?
go. Right.
So we're basically creating an environment for our future to be better because of the things that we've raised up.
Hmm.
And so I,
That's
I
right.
think it's an important approach. It's a great critical mindset. Um, Self-awareness as a
Hmm.
parent is really important, and I love just watching our kids just become who they are, and then make these decisions that are. And so I'll just give a case in point, like with my son Camden. Like, all of my kids are amazing, but Camden kind of threw me off with his decision to be a firefighter.
He
Right?
threw
I
me off with asking my daughter out. Just kidding. I love
he,
Camden. I love
he
Camden.
wouldn't he wouldn't have thrown me off. I mean, you have just a beautiful family, and your daughter
Thank you. I
is
appreciate it.
the absolute sweetest.
Oh yeah, she's a
Like
sweetheart.
you could just sense when she's around, like there is a a presence of love and giving
Oh yeah.
and kindness and sweetness, and to Camden's benefit, he recognized that as well, and he was able to kind of take advantage of that, and to your benefit, right? You guys did an amazing job with her, so
We appreciate.
congratulations.
Yeah, we
um
appreciate that. And Camden's doing good as a firefighter, man. I'm telling you, he's gonna
yeah,
make it good. He's gonna be good at it.
he's gonna be good at it, but like back to the point, like I didn't recognize that type of decision making in him until it actually happened. Is there a circumstance in any of your kids that, like, I never thought this would be what they decide to do?
Oh man, I'm gonna. Well, they're all different. So I will tell you this. Um, so Savannah, my oldest, she is just an absolute genius of a kid, and I call her a kid. She's my baby, but
Right.
she
She
she is
won Jeopardy
so.
4 years in a row at the
Oh
house?
yeah, she's that. No, she's salutatorian of her class. Went to honors and at CU and Boulder. Like she's just smart, smart, smart.
That's amazing.
She's so smart, but she's so talented in so many different areas. It's so hard for her to like. She didn't know what she wanted to do here. She didn't know what she wanted to do here, but she knew she had to work. So she picked a job to start working, and she picked banking, and she went into banking
Right?
because she was trying to get a job because she was not gonna come home after she got out of college. So
Right.
like, kudos to you, get a job, baby girl, good job. So she did that. She did that, but lo and behold, none of us knew at the time. She had this guy that was working there that was helping out there, and he worked at a school and did IT, and he worked at the bank as well. And she was dating this other dude, and they had a hard time, and then they broke up. Well, lo and behold, this one guy's been waiting on her to break up,
Okay.
and it's Jacob, her husband. He's been waiting on her for months to break up, and he asked her out. Then as soon as he asked her out, he starts going into the Marines, and they start talking and dating and all that stuff. And then she leaves and he moves to Pensacola for a little while. She moved to Florida to come down here to be closer to him. And then she moved to North Carolina when he went up there. And then they got married. So, I mean, like, there's a whole reason for her path. And I know she's got so much more to go and she wants to do things, but like, she's a baker. She like makes all these cupcakes and she's really talented. She's artistic. Like, she's got great things that are coming. She just doesn't,
Right.
she's got all these ideas, but like, you want to talk about an organizer? The girl organizes her everything she organizes. But
It's
if you go
all
into a refrigerator,
color
if you go into
coordinated.
a refrigerator, you'd be amazed.
Now,
Like,
actually, I would like to go into her refrigerator because I am
it's
hungry
amazing. Yeah.
and I
Oh
would
yeah. She's
like to
always
be
got
able
food.
to kind of prioritize my meals based on
Well, but
categories.
the funny thing is they're both very organized like that, and they both really get into it. But like, they got everything has got a place, and like, she is just a rock star. So
So
she's
with
got
a
so many
kid like
talents.
that, Kip, listen, this is a real scenario here. Like
Right.
right now, when I have kids over my house and friends and they all come over, crap gets thrown everywhere. Like if
Oh
you look
yeah.
at their room, there's like no rhyme or reason to why it looks like that, right? And so my
Yes. That's
idea,
yes.
well, I bet it is. It's almost every kid. So my idea of a great adult parent trick or prank or get you back moment is go to
Get
their
you back.
house, go to their house and just do everything. Like you go there with your bags, you just throw them on the, as soon as you open the door, you just leave them on the floor. You leave your open like suitcase right in the middle of
Yeah.
everything. And you just live out of that and you sleep on the couch. You leave open cups and drinks cups everywhere. And they say, why are you such a mess? You'd be like, this is just payback because now you have your own joint. I'm going to go ahead and treat it like you treated mine.
There you go.
That I feel like
Oh,
that is it
you
would
got to hear
really
my
mess up your daughter.
yeah. You got to hear my retirement plan.
We're on a show talking to each other. A retirement plan is absolutely something I want to hear about.
Okay, this is a parenting retirement plan. It's perfect. I think it's perfect. I've already told my kids thousands of times. So I look at it this way. I got three kids, right?
Right.
They'll live with me till they're 22 or plus.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
That's 22 years. Okay. So now I want you to think about this. When I retire, Lisa and I can go to each one of their houses and stay for 4 months at a time
Ooh.
because that'll split the year up, right?
Yeah.
But
Right. You just broke it down.
I would have like almost 88 years of that. So when I retire, I'm just going 4 months at a time and going to rotate to each kid's house. Now listen to me. How many groceries have you bought in 22 years for them?
So do you really want me to do the math on that?
No,
Because
no. I
I
just you
can't.
don't.
I'd
I'm
have
just
to
saying.
use
I'm like
Chat
I'm good.
GPT to learn that.
Yeah, and then clothing.
Right.
Take me to the movies and to see my friends. And I
Right.
want a birthday party. I want
Oh
all
my
those
God.
things.
Not even
I want. A,
including the when you're at the grocery store and they're like, "Can you give me ice cream?" And
yeah,
then they don't eat it.
Dad, you should get that 50 cents eggnog because I don't want to buy it. Will you get it for me?
Come on.
So
Listen,
that's what I'm
I'm
gonna
right
do.
here.
I'm gonna rotate from each one of them, and then here's the best part. Here's the best part. I figure before I go, I'm gonna have about 2 years of diapers. They owe me. I think it's the perfect plan. I don't know if they're gonna do it, if they'll go for it when I'm older, but you never know.
You never
I
know.
thought
And
about it. I thought about it.
listen, I know you, and obviously you've put quite a bit of thought into that.
Oh
You're
yeah,
very you're a frugal retiree. Like
yeah.
who needs a 401k when you got a th- a th- a
Hey,
three child 401k?
I'm ready to rock.
Listen, it's just a requirement. When you move out and you get married and you get a house, there has to be an extra bedroom.
There you
That's all
go.
there
That's
is.
right.
That's all
That's it.
that's the only
That's
requirement,
it.
right?
That's right.
You may call it an office or a workout room, but for 4 months of the year, I'm calling it my bedroom.
That's right. That's right.
That's
I'm in.
that's amazing.
And
I
my
love
friends
it.
are coming over. You can set me a curfew and everything if you want. I'm fine with that. I'm good.
So so here's my last question because we do a 30-minute show and I've really had a great time with you. But if you could have a beer with one historical person, all right?
Ooh,
Who would that historical person be? And what type of
historical.
conversations might you have?
Wow, historical. That is a great one. Uh, I just two things came up in my head, but I think I'm gonna go with number two. You know
Okay.
what?
Yeah. In a world
I
full of
just
number ones, don't step in number two,
I,
right?
yeah, that's right. I gotta pick number two, and it's gonna sound crazy, but I would love to have a beer with Jesus and hang out and say, tell me the real stories about the disciples and what the goofy stuff that they did. That's what I really want to know. What's the stuff that's not in the Bible that you just laughed at?
The reality is Jesus would have a beer with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He would. Now, he knows his
Absolutely.
limit. And so
Absolutely.
those stories would probably be absolutely amazing. Hey, listen, when I was younger, I can't I and I've thought about this so many times. I saw a movie about the life of Jesus, and it was back
Hmm.
in the early 80s, right? And the opening scene was Jesus and the 12 disciples, right?
Hmm.
Playing some sort of game with a ball. And it was like football, but it was like soccer, but it was also like rugby. And they were playing this game, and that stuck with me like my entire life until this day. Like I was like, these were men,
Oh yeah.
these were young men. Like he was 33 when he decided to go into the ministry, right? And it doesn't mention the ages of the other guys, but I'm sure that there were some younger and maybe some a little bit older. Nothing way outside of the ordinary, because birds of a feather flock together, right? And so they were playing this game, and I'm like, how real is that? How real is the fact that, you know, even the most historical figure in any religion, in Christianity, being Jesus, is a real man. And
Hmm.
I think that's really great that that you would choose him to
Oh,
be
I
your
think that'd be a
historical
blast.
figure. I
Just to
mean,
tell all
you
the stories would be
yeah,
awesome.
I'd be
Just
like, and
fun.
hey, before we leave, Jesus, I have been having this really, really tough neck ache.
Yeah.
Could
Can
you
you help
go
me
ahead?
out? Can you help
Could
me
you
out with
go
that?
ahead and help me out with that?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just awesome.
Yeah.
So listen,
For
man,
sure.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your love for your family, and I do appreciate you joining me today on Two Dads Having a Beer. And it is a show that I'm super proud of, and I'm super proud to have you. So that's a wrap for this episode, folks, of Two Dads Having a Beer. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure through fatherhood, one sip at a time, with our guest dad, Kip Egalite. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and never miss an episode, where we have them filled with dad stories, dad jokes, insightful conversations, and of course, a
Beer.
flavorful beer to make it go down. I really enjoyed today's show. I am super glad that I've had an opportunity to talk with you today, Kip. Leave us a review, send us your feedback, and until next time, keep being awesome dads. Keep sharing those laughs. Keep loving your family, and always remember that a beer never hurts you. And we'll see you next week on Two
Beer never
Dads.
hurt you.
Two Dads Having a Beer. Hey,
All
Kip.
right. That's
Cheers,
good, man.
brother.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Thank you.